Okay, this is Woodworker Royer, and we're back with an update for the 5-gallon DIY canister filter. So the other night, I left it overnight with some water up, not that high, but anyway, wherever this sits when it's actually attached. So almost full, probably about 4 gallons of water in it total, leak testing. And I did that a little bit yesterday also, but it had an unexplained, it was sitting about here, had an unexplained leak underneath. Got up this morning, it had a big, huge puddle. So I thought, what could be leaking? I actually went and felt underneath here. Now, obviously, it's wet now because I've just been doing another water test with it, which it passed. But anyway, this is spoiler alert. Anyway, it was dry underneath and around the silicone area that I did, and I would expect that when I've got a bunch of silicone on both ends of the gasket, there's no way it's going to leak. But it was still leaking somehow. So what my theory is that the inside, in fact, I'm just going to pull this out here just a sec. So my theory was that the inside of this bulkhead and this fitting was not sealed, which obviously I knew it wasn't sealed because I hadn't sealed it. Neither is this connection from the pipe to this 90 degree, or from this pipe to the elbow. So there's 3 unsealed connections in this. And my dad had noticed that it was leaking from here. So I'm thinking, okay, well, it could just be leaking here and somehow draining along this and dripping out there. But I didn't think it was. And there was no evidence of it leaking here, which would have been a lot easier, for water to go downwards than over and up a thing and out. So I was thinking that one of these 3 connections, or most likely all 3 connections, were leaking very slightly. Now, again, this was, I don't know, maybe a quart of water at the very most overnight, which obviously I don't want that, over a week. That would be quite a bit of water. That'd probably be this whole thing. So I had a pretty good idea that it wasn't leaking anywhere except inside of the drain, which is going to be draining into the fish tank, so I don't care if it leaks there anyway. But I ended up doing a test. I got the piece with the other end of the use piece. Basically, I connected it to the union here with an elbow that was sealed, pointing up. Now it's going to be pointing down when it's actually attached to the fish tank, but pointing up. Left it for 2 or 3 hours and came back. It had dripped a little bit, but the whole elbow and this whole drain was full of water. I mean, up to the level that this allowed it to be. And this was still dry under here, which means that indeed one or all of this, and that connection that are unglued and therefore unsealed, them were leaking. Again, not very much, but they were leaking. So I'm thinking, okay, well, that's fine. If that's the only place that's leaking, that's fine. It's going to be leaking into the drain and into the fish aquarium. So we're good. This is the other end of that union. Goes right there. And then it goes over. And this is at a weird angle. Not because I'm sloppy, but because that's the angle it's going to need to be to go into the fish tank, the way that I have the lid set up. Now, if you were doing this on your own tank, I would recommend doing a test of how all this stuff fits before you build the bucket. Or at least before you go and seal it and do all that stuff, if you need to seal it. Make sure that everything is not glued, not permanently affixed, all that. Just dry run, figure out the angle that you want the bucket to be, the angle that you want all the pipes to be, and all that. Mark it with a permanent marker. But anyway, I mean, it's easy to mark this. You just go like this, and that didn't turn out perfectly well, but it works. You get the idea. Basically, you're going to be able to line that up. When you dry fit these things, you're going to push them in there, you know, probably half the way that they're actually going to go in when they've got the glue on there, which I didn't realize. So most of my marks were short of what they needed to be, and they ended up disappearing. But you can just kind of compensate for that. Just make note of where it is, and then just keep pushing it as far as it'll go. Obviously the pipe is round, so that doesn't really matter. It's more of these angled fittings that you need to be able to tell where they're going to be aiming. Anyway, so the way that this is going to work is it's going to come out of here. The water's going to drain through here, go down that. I will say though that where did it go? There it is. I used the clear PVC cement. I haven't used the purple stuff, or the blue stuff for that matter, in a long time, probably a year. And I don't remember it being as noxious as this is, but I was outside when I was using it. I know it was terrible, but just a public service announcement: don't use this in your garage if you can avoid it, especially with the door closed. Have the door open at least. If you can be outside all the way, then that's even better. It's bad. If, again, as they say on the label, if you can't be in a well-ventilated area, then use a organic chemicals solvents mask. So basically, if you build this the way I did, just know that these are unsealed joints. I could seal these two right here on this elbow here, but I don't feel like doing that because I may want to change one of these at some point, and because they are just part of the drain system, it doesn't really need to be sealed. That is the bigger problem, is the connection between the pipe and that bulkhead. I think that's, honestly, I think that's where that's leaking. I think these are tighter joints than that is. And I have a feeling that is the point that it's leaking at. I'm not going to glue this because I do want this assembly to be removable. So I was all ready to install this, and I had done one more like fill-up test just to make sure everything was going well. And I turned off the water, and I noticed something that had happened before, but it had never really sunk in the meaning of. Basically, the way that I had it set up is this was on a, the canister filter was on a table, and underneath that table, just like it would be set up in the tank, was the filter at the base of another 5-gallon bucket that was just filled with water and had the hose running in it to supply it. And obviously the bucket was, or the canister was put all together and everything. The problem is that when the pump is turned off, the canister filter, it starts to siphon, because that's not how that goes, but I'm just putting it that way. Because this is lower than the canister, even though it's a pump, when the power is off on the pump, water can flow back through. And so it starts a siphon and will drain 4 gallons of water-ish, approximately 4 gallons of water, out of this this canister. And that wasn't a problem when I was testing, but that's a problem when you consider that 4-gallon, or that this, when it's full, has about 4 gallons of water in it. And if that all drains out of this and goes into a 60-gallon tank, it raises the water level about 2 inches. If the tank is full, that is a serious problem because it will be overfilled and spill, which we don't want. So the solution to that is in this inlet pipe. And the reason that that's a problem is because this white pipe here, it comes from the bulkhead and goes down, it goes all the way down to the base of the canister, so that water is forced down, and then it's forced to go back up through all the filter media and then flood out. If I had used the original, my original design in this, it would have just come straight out of the bulkhead, dripped down, or sprayed down, whatever, onto the foam, and then have to travel with gravity through and out. I didn't want to do that because I think it's going to be more efficient if it has to go up through, instead of just dripping. And I actually dealt with that in an earlier video. But anyway, the solution to this is along this line somewhere. I'm going to put a check valve so that water can only go up through it and into this. It cannot flow backwards. Now this is not the final version of this. I am going to lengthen this piece of pipe so that this goes down closer to the lid of the tank. I'll probably have it about an inch or so above the top of the tank, about level with so the bottom of the pipe is about level with this piece that's part of the light. But anyway, it's working right now. It's fairly quiet. It's not silent, but it's fairly quiet. And with all the other bubbles and everything going on in the tank, it's not that big of a deal. I do have the tank light turned off right now. But anyway, that shouldn't be a problem. Anyway, so the pump is down here. It barely works. It's not powerful enough. This is one of the TAM, T-A-A-M, Rio Plus pumps. And it's one of the pumps that's not just submersible. It also works in a power head configuration where it has suction cups. And then, the intake is down here and it pumps in there. So anyway, it pumps in water, goes up this flexible pipe around here. That's just a drip loop in case something happens. Goes up through a union right there. And then I added a shutoff valve. That is a check valve. Goes through the check valve through another union up into the top of the filter, travels down a pipe, floods back up, drains out the drain down here through another union, and into the tank. At that point, it goes out the little spray bar, which is just a PVC, 3/4 inch PVC pipe with holes in it, and it kind of dribbles out there. You can see in there. Now I'm not gonna leave it that way. Somehow I think I'm gonna do it the way Aquarium Co-op did it, where they have some elbow joints and stuff that kind of wrap around the outside of the tank and hold it there, so it's not like all the weight on the rest of the drain system. I don't even really need a spray bar with this pump. It barely gets it up there. It's having to lift the water about 4 feet, maybe 4.5 or 5. So it's not that great At some point I'm going to upgrade it probably, but for right now it works. It is getting water to where it needs to be. So that's the main thing. And then this side is just an elbow. It has a little bit of water going through that, and the rest of it going through the other way. And then I'm gonna, when I update this, I'm gonna have lengthened this so this is down closer here, and turned that piece also so that this bar is back at the back of the tank instead of in the middle. Again, this is a 60-gallon tank, so this is about 6 inches from the back, and I want it to be like this whole system to go back there. This lid was broken, so it doesn't have a hinge, so I just flipped the back piece around to fit there, and it works pretty well for that. That's honestly one of the nice things about having a broken or split top like this, is that you could do a lot of excuse me, a lot of different things with filters or cords or whatever. You know, you could have all your cords go out the end instead of out the whole back. Don't know why you'd really want to do that, but that's the thing. Also, I obviously keep, this is the light. I also did that DIY. Clearly I was a lot more interested in that looking good than this. If I was to do this over again, I would get, I didn't realize they had it at the time, and it's a lot more money, but they actually make black corrugated, the outside's corrugated, the inside isn't, I don't think. Anyway, black corrugated tubing in different sizes for ponds. At Home Depot they carry it, and I would get that, and I would replace this whole thing with black corrugated pipe or tubing, so that you don't have to see, I mean, you're going to see a piece of black pipe, but that's it. Also, they make PVC that's in different colors, that's furniture grade. I don't know why you'd want to make furniture out of any kind of PVC, but they make it. I don't think they carry it in most Home Depots in the store, but they do have it online. So you could look into that if you want to order it. Just make sure you know exactly what pieces you need and everything, and then order it, so you're not, you know, waiting 6 months to get your filter because you need to make 5 orders or something like that. They're faster than, you know, a month per order, but still. Anyway, so the way that I did this, I built a little plug here. It's just the other half of a union. So when I'm done with this, I can unplug the pump. There's a check valve here so that the water won't siphon back out. And then this piece here, I can undo this, this union, put a plug on it, and then undo one or the other, probably this union, on this check valve assembly, and then just lay that back in the tank. It'll be fine. And then, or just leave it in this tub, probably either way. As long as the pump is off, this whole thing doesn't really matter. Won't have any problem or anything. And then I could drain this before I put the plug on or whatever. But anyway, this check valve keeps this thing from draining back into the tank. And when I run this, I just set it up yesterday, I think, and it drained about 4 gallons out of the tank, because that's about how much it holds of water. And then when I'm going to do the water change today and fill this back up so that it's going to actually have 64 gallons of water between the tank with 60 and the filter itself with 4. So at some point in the distant future, 6 months, a year from now, I'm going to replace this whole pump with something better. This one just doesn't have enough pressure, head pressure, to get it up the 4 or 5 feet that it has to go, and that is just not good. Maybe this is a good pump for other things, but just for what I'm using it for, it claims 370 gallons per hour. It's not giving me anywhere near 370 gallons per hour. I mean, it's dribbling out of that pipe. I haven't done the math to figure out how much 370 gallons per hour is in per minutes, but it's not a little bit of water dribbling out of a pipe. Anyway, it is a fine pump for other things. Putting water into tanks and stuff, it seems to be okay. Maybe reducing it down to this size 1/2 inch outer diameter pipe. Maybe that's part of the problem. I don't know. But anyway, whatever the problem is, I just need a bigger pump. And the reason I got this and not like a real pond pump is because I have guppies in here. I didn't want them getting shot to the other side of the tank or anything like that. But clearly I need something bigger than what I got. And just to give you a size comparison on this, this isn't really a review of this, it's just an observation that it's not big enough, but just to give you a size comparison, this is the TAM Rio Plus 1400 from TAM, T-A-A-M. And anyway, it's that big. And then over here we have a Marineland Maxi Jet, and that one is pushing the fish, which is one of the reasons I wanted to do this other filter, so I could have a spray bar and all that. This is what was running it before, is just a 6-inch cylinder sponge filter. I have rewired some things to make it easier to plug the thing in. I'm going to be putting all of my supplies down here, which was previously where the mess of cords was, and now the mess of cords is it's still on a power strip and everything just the way it was, except that it's now screwed to this board on the underside. So anyway, and I used short screws, so there's no chance of, you know, going through and breaking the tank or anything like that. I would recommend, if you do it though, to do it on a 2x4, not on the thing that the tank is actually resting on. The way that that I have it set up, with the timer that's down there, cords come out from both sides, and so I can't really have it on this 2x3. If I could, I would have had it on the back 2x3, but anyway, that's beside the point. Anyway, so that was that. I'm going to put a shelf here that holds all of this stuff, except for, I mean, it'll hold that yellow bucket, but not any of this stuff in it. And so all my fish supplies will be down there under the tank where they were supposed to be all along, and not all over the floor. The other thing I'm doing, at some point, I'm planning on upgrading my light. I've got a 4-foot LED shop light that I built a custom hood for. And it works fine, except that I'm wanting to get a little bit more growth out of my plants. So I'm planning to change that and upgrade it to a little bit better light. Maybe a Phoenix Stingray or something from Twin Star. That's probably out of my price range, but we'll see. Anyway, so the filter, because that's why you're here. I've upgraded the pump. I've also moved the pump. I've upgraded the pump to a Aquatop Max Flow pH 35. I have no idea why they call it a 35. It's 45 watts and 608 gallons. No idea where the 35 came from, but anyway, whatever. Maybe that's the effective wattage, I don't know. But anyway, that's the model number. There's the package. I found this at a local fish store for $25. I was planning on getting one for $19. That was only 340 or something gallons per hour, 320 or 340. And that was for $19. I figured, hey, I can get half again as much flow for $5 or $6. So I decided to do that. And it works well. It works really nicely. I wouldn't have had to pay shipping anyway. So anyway, that is one upgrade that I did. It is now on this side of the tank with the intake sponge. That's going to get upgraded here soon. And then the pipe goes, or the tubing goes up here, down around the back of the tank, up here, and then it goes through this whole thing, through the filter, and then back down to the spray bar right there. And this piece, I'm planning on extending the spray bar so that the elbows here rest on this piece of plastic on the lid. The original plan was to have this go back to the back of the tank and go over. I decided it was a lot easier just to have it go straight down in the middle of the tank and then just stay there. I may at some point add a T right here and have a spray bar goes out that way and back. But we'll see. We'll see how that works. So the biggest problem, it works great right now. In fact, almost too well. The water goes up about 1/4 of an inch past the overflow. And then there's that, the regular tub vortex thing that like makes all this, the sucking sound or whatever. That's what you hear. That I don't know if it's coming from the actual drain here, or if it's coming from when the water goes here and then drops down a good almost 3 feet, if not, and then it goes out here, which is also why the spray bar is bubbling. Now I don't know if you guys know a way to stop that. That would be great. The way that the drain is set up, I'm thinking, is probably the issue. The way that it's set up is the top of it is basically 90 degrees. It's a little bit angled. I'm thinking if I cut it at a 45-degree angle, and that sound that you just heard is that little cyclone thing getting sucked down, and then there's like a huge rush of bubbles that come out of the spray bar. So that's part of the problem with this new filter, is the pump, is it pushes so much water through that it overwhelms the drain occasionally. I mean, it still drains and everything. It's not overflowing, but it's not ideal. It makes more noise than I wanted it to. But anyway, I'm thinking if I angle that drain, instead of just being flat and doing what it just did, if I angle that, it will have less of a spinny thing, and the water will just go in and maybe stop that sound. So that's my plan. I just wanted to show, I don't know if I've showed this in another video or not, but I have a union here from the pump, goes into this 1/2 inch outer diameter, 3/8 inner diameter tubing, goes through a union. That's the one that I used to disconnect it. Goes through a shutoff valve, through a check valve, through another union in case I need to replace either one of these two things at some point, up, and then like down to the bottom filter, floods back up, goes out the drain, and comes down. I have this, because this pump is so powerful, I have this shutoff valve about about almost half closed, and that's just to make sure that I'm trying to stop the flow a little bit. See if we can do this. I'm trying to hinder the... Man, I wish this thing moved a little bit better. I'm trying to hinder the flow from the pump a little bit just so that sound stops. But I think I'm going to have to end up taking the drain pipe out of this, cutting it off at a 45-degree angle, putting it back in, and seeing if that helps. I have a feeling it will, because instead of the cyclone, the water, if there's a, here, we're going to use this as an example. If there's a pipe that's basically level, the water goes in all the way around it, and then as it's going down, it creates a cyclone kind of effect. And if it was in a tub or something, you can actually see the cyclone. If it's in this, you just see a water, dropping down. I'm gonna try and fix the exposure here a little. No, that's not helping anything. Anyway, trying to do cameraman stuff. Anyway, so what I'm expecting is, because this is basically level, this pipe is cut at a 90-degree angle, it's basically level the water, and it's the same thing with the one in there. It's offset a little bit. It's like maybe a 5 or 10 degree angle at the very, not even 10, it's more like 5 or 3 or something, just barely off of 80 degrees, or 90 degrees, I mean. But anyway, the way that works is it allows the water to go all the way around, and it creates a cyclone effect for some reason. I don't know why specifically it does, I just know that it does. I'm expecting that cutting that off at a 45-degree angle will stop that, because there's no way that it can go all the way around. Maybe it can still swirl a little bit, but I don't think it'll be able to cyclone around and suck water down, which is what's making all that racket right now. If you just listen. You heard that, and then it stops, and then it cycles like that all the time. I don't particularly have a problem with that. It's the big rush of bubbles that's like crazy, and just whoosh, and then like a bunch of bubbles come out of the spray bar and all that. When I'm trying to go to sleep or whatever, because this is in my bedroom, when I'm trying to go to sleep or whatever, I don't want that. So anyway, that's what I'm going to try to do, is I'm going to cut that drain pipe off at a 45-degree angle ish, and I'll see if that works. If it doesn't work, then I'll just live with it. In fact, what I was planning to do is just turn this valve a little bit, close it a little bit and a little bit until, gradually, basically, until the siphon or the tornado suction thing stops. That was my plan. I don't think I'm going to do that if I can get the drain itself to fix the problem. If I just cut it off at a different angle, if that fixes the problem, then I can have this go fully open, and then just when I turn the filter and pump and everything, I just turn that off, turn the filter off, then close that valve, then I can disconnect it. There's no water leakage or any, it barely drips at all. I really like this whole setup. I have 1/2-inch tubing, so it's 1/2-inch inner diameter, 5/8 inch outer diameter, and it goes directly into this pump power head. It works very well. Actually, the interesting thing about it is, it friction fits in there really, really nicely, and then it feeds up to, according to that website, up to 500 gallons per hour. Now, this power head claims to do 608 gallons per hour. I'm expecting that it's probably not doing that full capacity when it gets all the way up here. This is almost a 4-foot lift. And then it kind of siphons down, so I don't know what the conversion would be, but it doesn't matter. It's about a 4-foot lift. And I'm having right now, I haven't fixed the angled piece in here in the drain yet, but I'm planning on doing that. And I'll do an update when that happens, to see, I don't know, a test or something to see whether or not it actually helps. Or I may just post in the comments below. I may just say, hey, this worked or it didn't. If it worked, I'll probably post in the comments below. If it didn't work, then I'll probably be doing another video, possibly. But if I come up with another solution, then I will. But anyway, right now I actually have my this ball valve turned at about, I'd say half, a little bit less than half the way, because if it's inline, it's full pressure, full size, and if it's to 90 degrees, it's totally closed. So I've got it almost half, almost 45 degrees, probably more like a 30-degree angle, probably getting about 300 or so gallons per hour through that, which is fine. Oh goodness gracious, that scared me to death. This pipe moved. I don't know, it's possessed somehow, but anyway, I didn't move it. I don't know what did move it, but anyway, so yeah, I've got that thing about halfway, just to help that siphon tornado thing, cyclone, whatever, not make all that racket. And right now it's still making its normal draining racket. I don't mind that. I just mind when it's super loud and it goes crazy. But anyway, so that is the final video probably. Again, if my solution with the cutting the drain off works, that will be the next video, or that'll be in the comments below, and I'll do that in the next water change probably. I'm gonna have to tear down the tank, or not the tank, the filter. I'm gonna have to take down and apart, and change out the carbon. So we'll see if when I do that, then I'll cut that off at a different angle, and I'll see if that helps. I would like to get the full use I can out of that pump. I don't need that much flow in here, but I mean, you can see the guppies are extremely happy right now. They've got absolutely no care in the world. They're swimming, right up next to that outflow, and they don't have any problem at all. I don't know if when you saw, when I had the other power head attached to the sponge filter, originally anyway, they were kind of getting used to it at the time, when I did that video, but before that, when I originally put that on there, the guppies were just going crazy. They wouldn't even go in this half of the aquarium. And certainly not from about there in the back over to here. They'd go in the very front a little bit, and then occasionally want to get stuck in this corner, somewhere along in the water column, and just get kind of swirled around there until it kind of escaped somehow. Probably tired out, and then it kind of got moved around by the water current, but I didn't like that, so I decided I needed something with a water, or with a spray bar rather, and so I did this, which is kind of crazy. I started this whole build out wanting to get rid of things floating, like that little piece of waste right there. Wanted to get rid of that. I was tired of seeing little floating things throughout here and everything, So I put a power head on a sponge filter. Well, this is a really fine, well, not really fine, but pretty fine sponge on this sponge filter, and it doesn't really pick up that much. It picks up a bunch of small stuff, and then it gets clogged, and then it's a pain to clean, and it never does get clean. So, you know, whatever. But then I have the power head on here, and like half the tank or a third of the tank was basically unusable because the fish weren't going into it. They did eventually get used to it a little bit. That was a 200 and something gallon per hour pump, and so, you know, it worked. But I wasn't liking the idea that like a third of my tank, you know, I went from a 60-gallon tank down to a 40-gallon tank the minute I turned that on, because the fish didn't like that part of the tank. So I decided I needed something that I could put a spray bar on. Now, I probably could have messed around with something that had big, you know, a power head with a Pinocchio nose going halfway across the tank that was effectively a spray bar in and of itself. But I didn't want to do that. I wanted to get more media, and I wanted to be able to put, you know, carbon in the tank or whatever I want to do, which I can't really do with a sponge filter. I do like sponge filters. I think they're great. But it does have limitations. This, when it's all said and done, cost a lot. I would say with the pump, which I already had for another project, but and I started using it for this, a different one of these, but this one in particular was $25 for the pump. I had the 1/2-inch tubing, so that's free. Then I bought a bunch of plumbing stuff, which was about $4, say $5 for the 3/4-inch tubing, another $4 for all the 1/2-inch tubing, say $40 for all the fittings, which are couplers, 90-degree fittings. These unions are what, $5 a piece or something. There's 4 of those rather. Then there's, you know, the hose clamps and the adapters, and these adapters that are barbed to go to a flexible hose, that then adapt to a threaded fitting, are like $5 a piece, which is just insane. But anyway, say $40 for the fittings, $25 for the pump, $10 for the hose, and you could do this all with one hose. I ended up using like 3 different ones, but you could use it all with one, and then it would be a lot simpler. So we're what, 40 and 25 is 65, and then another 10 for the hose, so 75. 10 for the lid and the bucket, and then another 10 for the 2 whatever they are, the bulkheads. So 85, 95. I had this whole thing is just me being worrisome. I just didn't want to have a leak and have a problem, so I got I don't know how many gallons this, or whatever this is. It might be able to hold all the water that's in that. But anyway, I got a bucket, and I was wanting one that was only about this, you know, basically a tray, where this bucket could sit directly on this, just with a tray underneath it to catch any water. I ended up, because of where this is and how deep these buckets are, I mean, it's like 6 inches deep. I couldn't find anything shorter than that where I was. I just ended up building a full thing. This is just cedar fence pickets. But anyway, I ended up building it out of that because it's cedar. It's not going to probably hurt the fish because it's never going to get into their water anyway. And it's basically water resistant. It won't rot. Excuse me. It won't rot or anything like that. But anyway, so that is the video. So yeah, I mean, about $100, all said and done. It was more or less than that. I don't remember. I never did an exact tally on each and every single part. And then there were different iterations. So, I probably used 50 cents of pipe in here, and, another 80 cents of two fittings in here because they're all glued together. And I didn't end up using it in the final build. But that's getting way too detailed for it. But anyway, and that right there is a really good reason to dry fit everything before you put it together. Dry fit it, the elbow fittings and all that stuff, mark it so that you can align it when you're gluing it. Take into account that it's going to go in there further than you expect it to. Yeah, I mean, just think through the thing, dry fit everything before you put it together and glue it, because it takes 2 hours for the glue to dry, and then you're going to find out that, like I did, this thing is off by like 5 degrees and it doesn't work for what you need it to work for, and then you have to cut it off and do it all over again, whatever. So just try it before you do it. Hope you guys have a good week, and we'll see you next time. Woodworker Warrior out.